You ever see someone get cuffed in the street and think, that's got to be a mistake, right? Like, no way they'd pull that on a person who's really somebody not unless they wanted the sky to fall. That's the thing about power, about how it moves, how it mistakes silence for weakness, how it tries to keep you small even when you're the only one left who remembers what standing tall means. I swear, the way he sneered at her, you'd think the badge on his chest gave him the right to rewrite every rule. He thought that look would spare her. You know the look? Chin up. Not defiant, just unbothered, like all the educated black folks who know exactly what law means because they spent their lives on the wrong side of it. He cuffed her right there, on Maple Avenue, like she was no one. Didn't even know who she was. Didn't care. But seconds later, the badge he tossed on the hood was enough to trigger a federal emergency. See, this story isn't about who outranks who. It's about a system so used to humiliating anybody who doesn't fit, it finally stepped on the one woman who could make it kneel. You think racism is some ancient memory? Stick with me to the end. This reckoning is going to make you look in the mirror and ask who's actually safe. That morning, Maple Avenue looked so invisible it almost hurt. The air was glass clear. The city hushed like it was bracing for impact or maybe just hoping to get through another day without cracking. Miriam, always the same routine, just one silver sedan moving through the calm, one pair of steady hands keeping the wheel from wandering. She never chased attention, learned too many times it comes with a price. Silence, to her, was a kind of armor, a decision, not a retreat. Her stop at the bookstore was ritual, not about the news, not about distraction, but about making order out of a world that kept insisting on chaos. She nodded to the owner like always, never guessing the flicker of red light in the window behind her was about to set this city on fire. She sat there in her car, paper folded, didn't even put the key in the ignition. Just stared in the rear view, not to clock the patrol car, not to size up who was inside, just to see herself, maybe remind herself what it felt like not to flinch. Sometimes that's all you got, just looking, holding steady while everyone else tries to shove you back into a shape that makes them comfortable. The cruiser stopped, red light pulsing, not a siren, not a voice, just a warning for anyone paying attention. But she knew, of course she knew this wasn't the first time, wasn't even the 50th. She could have done what she always did. ID out, here's my name, here's my business. But today, she was going to let them show themselves for what they really were. A few blocks over, Officer Darren Lawcatch was already in the rhythm, spinning in his chair under a wall of notes, little trophies of control, warnings, lines about don't overlook what's unusual. But what counted as unusual for Locke wasn't the law. It was posture. The way Miriam sat, not scared, not small, not doing that dance of yes sir, whatever you say sir. He keyed the mic, didn't even wait for dispatch, didn't need permission. He had that itch, the kind you can't name in a policy manual, the kind that says, people like her are always an unresolved question, and he's the guy who thinks he gets to put the period at the end. He flipped on his lights and cut into traffic, all business like this was just another routine day, only, it never is. The sedan rolled forward, just a little, then eased the shoulder by a shuttered store. Miriam was precise, clinical, every move a decision. No panique, no fluster, just stillness, so clean it made Locke nervous, like he was the one being measured and found wanting. He barked over the loudspeaker, pull over, and she did, one tire on the curb, car silent, engine off. Didn't look at him, didn't scan the street, just waited. If silence could roar, that was it. She wasn't just a woman in a car. She was a wall he'd been warned never to run into, but didn't believe was real. Locke approached, every step heavy, trying to project that cop energy, but it felt forced. 3 sharp knocks on the glass. No good morning, no license and registration. Just, what's your name? Were you going at this hour? She lowered the window, a sliver, met his gaze, calm as a pond in January, and said, I'm an American. I have the right to move. That's all. Just that. 6 words that felt like a slap. Locke leaned back, scoffed. You think that talk earns my respect? Miriam shrugged. Don't need your respect. Just need you to remember this country has laws. No heat, no plea, just a fact. The way you tell a dog not to bite you. That calm man, it did something to him. He called in backup, voice measured, as if he needed the excuse, as if he was building a case out of air. Inside the car, Miriam didn't move, didn't fidget, just sat like someone who'd seen too much to let a badge scare her. When Locke demanded a search, she didn't fight. Just stepped out, smooth, courtroom poised, and asked, "On what grounds?" "Vigilance's duty," he shot back, but she gave him that look, not mocking, just honest, and said, "Then be vigilant with your prejudice." The words hung there, not loud, but they didn't need volume to echo. She stood there, back straight, arms loose, not daring him, but not giving up a single inch. Crowds started forming. Slow at first, a man with a grocery bag, a girl pausing her bike, a hush that's thicker than any crowd noise. Locke muttered about old folks thinking they had privileges, then barked, "Hands behind your back." Miriam waited, then complied, moving so slow, so measured, it made him look rushed. When the cuffs clicked, it was like a verdict he'd just written for himself. People kept coming. Phones out. Some recording, some just holding their breath. Someone whispered, "Why is she in cuffs?" No answer. Just a metal taste of too much power and not enough conscience. Locke rifled through her bag, tossed out a pen, a note, a folded paper, then a badge, gold and real, Supreme Court, stamped with more authority than he'd ever had. The younger officer's hand shook. "What the hell is this?" Crowd whispering. "That's her. That's the judge who wrote the federal reform report." Locke tried to call it fake, tried to bluff, but the moment he started raising his voice, he lost every ounce of control he thought he had. "You will arrest me for a fake badge or for making you look small in public?" Miriam asked, voice calm as a warning. He snapped, "Out here I am the law." But no one bought it. Not anymore. They put her in the car, drove her to the precinct, but the city was already watching. No sirens, just the churn of headlines and the silent march of everyone who ever wondered, what would happen if it was me? Inside, Locke tried to justify himself, but the young officer spoke up. "Sir, I think we got the wrong person." Locke spat back. "People like you make this department weak." Miriam just stared him down. "You fail not by misidentifying me, you failed because you think you could diminish anyone who makes you feel small." The room stilled, and the badge rolled out on the table, mocking every defense he tried to build. Then the supervisor came in, saw the badge, the woman, the bag, and without drama, just said, "Release her." It was done. Locke's world crumbled, not in a shout, but in the way everyone else suddenly refused to look at him. Miriam walked out, no triumph, no tears, just a look at Locke that said, "I know exactly what you are, and so does everyone else now." That night, 32 seconds of phone video hit 3 million views. If skin color can make even a judge get treated like trash, who among us is the law protecting? Tweets, news flashes, editorials, the system was forced to face itself. Not just a mistake, but a reckoning. Old cases came back, petitions poured in, other officers started speaking not to defend, but to confess. People who'd kept quiet finally saying, "Yeah, I saw myself in Locke's eyes, and I felt sick." Miriam stayed out of the spotlight, quietly rebuilding her own case files, drawing patterns where silence and bad habits had covered up too much for too long. It turned out Locke wasn't the first, just the latest in a chain that ran deep. Students, journalists, even retired cops got involved, piecing together every broken rule, every name erased, every time the system looked away and called a procedure. The day of her hearing, the city lined up outside. Inside, Miriam stood with Kayla, the young lawyer who'd become her closest confidant, both of them carrying the weight of everyone who'd ever been told to keep their heads down. Locke's defense was public safety. Miriam's was a photo. "If this woman was your mother, would you call it understandable?" Someone asked. "If she didn't have a badge, would you even care?" Miriam nodded. "That's why I'm here." She presented every case, every name, every silent victim, and when they pressed her, "Are you saying this was racial?" she didn't flinch. When errors repeat, and every target shares the same skin color, it's not error, it's a choice. The mayor's office sent out a memo promising reform, but Miriam declined every interview. "I don't need the system to bow to me. I needed to stand tall for everyone it once stepped on." Locke was tried, convicted on 3 counts. abuse of authority, systematic discrimination, obstruction of a federal investigation. 18 years. No parole for 10. No one defended him. His assistant, for years probation, lifetime ban, his only words, "I saw right and wrong and chose silence." A truth that echoed long after the sentence. But here's the part you won't see on TV. The system didn't change because one judge got justice. It changed because everyone stopped pretending silence was safety. Law students took up her name. Teachers reworked their lessons. Officers rewrote their own codes. Miriam kept walking every morning, refused to take any new title, just said, "I want the current seats filled with the right people." Her words, not loud, but heavy, became the real law. The less she spoke, the more they had to think, and once you start thinking, you can't ever go back. So maybe justice isn't just what happens in a courtroom. Maybe it's what starts when one person refuses to let silence stand in for dignity. And maybe, just maybe, the next time someone gets pulled over on a quiet street, the world will remember justice isn't for the loud or the lucky or the ones who look the part. It's for whoever refuses to step back, even when the whole system says stay small. Now, I gotta ask you, after all this, is that justice? Or is it just the beginning of a new fight? Would you have spoken up or stayed silent? You tell me, because what happens next, that's not on her anymore. That's on all of us. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts below. Where do you draw the line between order and dignity? When is enough finally enough?